Everything You Know Is Wrong is brought to you by UReach. Want to volunteer internationally? Take the trip of a lifetime. Eat the world's best tacos in Baja, California, Mexico. Learn to surf in Nicaragua, Central America. Pet a lion in Zambia, Africa. All while doing something amazing to change the world. Housing, water, education. UReach.global is your portal to reach farther than you ever imagined. Student Reach. Coaching for students, resources for parents, student presentations that really change things, trips for students, and more. StudentReach.org is where reaching your potential begins. You can support the show at everythingyounknowiswrong.show/support or patreon.com/everythingyounknowiswrong. Show notes, video, and more at everythingyounknowiswrong.show. Let's do this.
Everything you know is wrong.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
It's important to remember one thing. You're wrong.
You are dead wrong.
You're wrong.
Ooh, you smell that? It smells like someone's wrong.
Everything you know is wrong. Everything you know is wrong.
Welcome to Everything You Know Is Wrong,
Where the blind lead the blind.
and we question everything.
That's right. We're here to talk about mysteries, misconceptions,
And myths.
and myths. That's right.
What are we questioning today?
Well, we're talking about branding, which I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they think, okay, well, this is just for like business leaders or anything. But I love our guest today,
Yeah.
CJ, who you guys are going to love, talks about the fact that, man, your brand as a human being, your brand is in the room when you're not.
Yeah.
Which is a new way of thinking about things.
For sure.
But is really cool. And so, what are some of the topics we cover today?
We cover a lot. We cover branding, like you said, personal branding. He talks about his company, Bamboo Creative, goes into detail on that. I think some of you are really going to want to hear about that and be interested in potentially that working for you. So that's obviously something we want to offer. Second is he goes into what does personal branding mean? And so, I mean, you're going to hear it. I'm like the whole time just, I wish I had notes. I mean, I was just I'm going to re-listen to it because it was just beautiful. It was really, it took it from in the marketplace with you, with your job, your company, or it just took it with you and your family and what you're doing with your family and how they can become your, client, if you will.
Well, I love the thing too. He talks about the fact that as a brand, whether it's as a company or as a human being, that you're either in startup, you're in realignment, you're
4
in
things.
Maintenance. I'm missing one.
Restore or
Reinventing or reinventing, something like
turnaround.
that.
Yes.
Turnaround.
Something like that, yeah.
So fortunately, it's actually, he'll say it.
Yeah,
So.
You'll get it in detail.
But I was thinking about this idea, Robbie, of personal branding, and I think like all of us are going to be at a point in our life at some point, if you haven't already been, where, man, it's time to kind of rebuild that brand.
Yeah.
Or, for some of us, maybe we're in the stage of like sustaining success, realigning what our brand is. I mean, a lot of people, when you just think about people who are facing becoming empty nesters, a lot of my friends right now, their kids are graduating from high school, college, getting married.
Yeah.
And if your brand to you was I'm a parent, or your brand to other people was I'm a parent, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, whatever. When you're an empty nester, it's time to realign, right? And go, okay, who am I now?
Oh, I'm going through it right now in a sense because you hear it from the moment you have kids. You hear it. Oh, cherish this time. It's going to go by so fast. And you're like numbly listening like, okay, it's like, what are you talking about? And then you do experience it, but you're not ready for it. And all of a sudden, like, my daughter is about to be a teenager, and it's like, there's nothing I can do. And that really just of letting go and going, okay, I have to start to be present and embrace this because it's going to happen no matter what. I think a lot of people are numb until it's too late.
And
too late.
Like, you don't realize what a lot of people that are listening to this, and certainly I realize, is that you're about to move from the center of the universe to like a third or fourth planet in the orbit.
Yes.
Which is a tough transition
I can
to
only
make.
imagine. Yeah.
Where your kids who wanted to spend time with you are like, hey, listen, let's go to the go-kart track, and they're like, nah, my friend's coming.
Yeah.
You're like, I couldn't offer you a trip to the moon you'd be excited about. And just going through that process, and you realize you were there and it was healthy. I had a good friend I was talking to a couple weeks ago, and he said, my daughter says, I don't know if I love you guys or hate, and these people are great people. And he said, I don't realize if I love you or hate you. And, it's just really tricky. And he said, but I realized she's going to be okay. I was in the same place.
Yeah.
And, her parents, me and her, we're at least as good as my parents were.
Yeah.
We're standing on the shoulders of giants. So anyway, you personally, and I don't know how much you want to talk about it, you're in a place of realignment right now.
Sure. I don't know if it happens for everybody, this way, but for me, I was working at a mega church. It was a big church in the town I lived in, and I worked there for over a decade. I mean, it was a long time, almost 15 years, I think. And then it was like, honestly, it was like overnight. I was not doing that, and a couple things contributed to that, and I'll get as detailed as I can, but essentially.
You were fired for embezzlement, right?
Yeah, it was embezzlement. I took these kids on trips and I stole their money. No, please. Someone can use that quote right there, that one little sentence, and slap it on my face, on someone else's body. That's the technology.
You left of your own free will. Completely your decision. They would have preferred to have kept you.
Well, I'll get into that because that's some of my truth that I love to explore. Essentially, I found myself working there. Giant mega church, been there for over a decade, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, but for sure what I've come to realize is I had never really fully dealt with a lot of my childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And I thought I did. And I dealt with some of it, but I never really dealt with a lot of it. And in that was in my ego a lot. And I came to a place where I was burning out, I was fizzling, I didn't know what to do. It wasn't just one area, it was multiple areas of my life that were falling apart, or at least getting out of the point of control. And I had created a world for me where I was in control of everything.
Yeah.
And little by little, I was leaking. Things were just getting, and I made some decisions that weren't the best. And, I went to my authority, my leadership at the time, my bosses, and was kind of spiraling and kind of presented them just with where I was at in life. And it just was like this moment of like, dude, I got to get out of here. At the time, I'll be real, I would have put probably 5 or 6 things on that organization and other things. But as I've gone through my own journey of healing and alignment and really being present, I just realized, and it was very difficult, but like, man, I'm responsible for all my own actions. Yes, there was an age of unknowing, where till you're like 8, 9 or something like that, where like things happen to you and it basically creates who you are and how you're going to live this thing out unless you do something about it for the rest of your life. Right. Put in some real hard work to change. So I didn't know. This was just who I'd become and who I was. And I was doing big things, working for a big church, helping a lot of people. And I even had moments of pride where I thought, like, I'm not like some of these other people I know. Man, I'm a real one who's really gonna help people.
I'm authentic.
Yes, like I'm real, and people, they connect with me, and I'm, But then I had my own addictions, I had my own issues, my own stubbornness, and then my own ego, my own walls, where I was just broken. I was broken, and I was super reactive. Man, super reactive and insecure. Man, people could say just one thing and it would just crush me. And I was really good with my words, and I was high up, and so I could, dice back and cut back, but it was just this kind of fizzling out and coming out of it, and I did. And so to your point, I want to say, I did. I turned in a letter of resignation, and I left. But I was spiraling. And the truth is, maybe down the road they were going to let me. I don't know. And I like to be true about stuff like that, because they didn't fire me, but it doesn't mean maybe I wasn't on the chopping block. I was for sure leaking and falling apart, and little by little things were just unraveling for me. We met during some of that.
Yeah, and actually, I don't think we've talked about this, but I talked to 2 of your, kind of direct report type people, and they both told me they would have much preferred that you stayed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. You know, I probably wish I might have at this point too. In some ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least for you know, in my mind, right? In my mind, I can think that. But the truth is, I can remember moments in my life where I just kind of put myself out there in a way, and I'm a man of faith, so I'm going to say it a couple different ways for everybody to get understanding of what I'm talking about. But I put it out to God, saying, I'm here. I'm on this planet. What do you want to use me to do? And I'm willing to be a person that can help others and use the gifts, talents, and abilities that I have to be a better light in this earth. But I didn't really know what that meant. And another way you could say it is, hey, universe, I'm ready. What do you want from me? And I don't know if you've ever been in a place where just in some way you thought, hey, whatever my calling is, whatever my journey is, whatever my job is, whatever I've been put on this planet for, I want to do good.
Yeah.
Some type of good to help others. You start with you, then your family, and then your neighbors, and you know, but it's some that was in me. Maybe that's not in everybody. I think it's in everybody a little bit, and it gets, you know, as you really get healthy, that becomes to be more of a central focus for you, you know, because otherwise we're just selfish in our ego, which I think a lot of people are. I'm going to say that if you're listening to this or you're watching this, like, there are a lot of us who are stuck in our egos. I go into mine daily. Daily I have to fight it, you know? There's different ways we can say that, but it was a big awakening, a big mirror put in front of me, and I realized, man, I don't know if you can think about this here, just think about this as you're listening. Scooby-Doo, if you don't understand how it works, there's a group of kids, they go after people. Bad guys specifically, it's always some crazy thing that's almost kind of scary, like a ghost or a monster or something. You're like, ah! You know, at the very end, they find him, they catch him. It wasn't for you and those pesky kids, you know what I mean? The dog and Shaggy. And they pull off the mask and reveal, who is it really, right? Well, my favorite
Old
meme.
man Millicut.
Exactly, that's exactly it, McGillicuddy. But I love the meme where it's like, finally, the person behind all my problems. And they pull off the mask and it's Fred. You know, it's Fred looking at Fred.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that meme. A, because of culture currently, and also because I went, whoa, when you can really step back, not only can you realize, wow, you can fix all your problems if you really have self, you know, awareness and really decide to face your demons, for lack of a better term, and do the work, which is hard. Because bottom line, when I was a kid, a lot went down. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I had a rough childhood, and it wasn't anybody doing anything specifically mean on purpose. It was people giving the best they could with what they had. And for me, it wasn't enough in my formative years. And so that created me to go into my ego, my insecurity, and all of a sudden do this, how can I be the coolest? How can I make everybody laugh? How can I fit in? How? And I was lost in it. I started going numb. I mean, I'd be at things. I was leading people. I was doing funerals. I felt like I had to know everything and do everything and be everything for everybody. And then I'd be sitting there on my own going, I'm just a guy. I don't know anything. I mean, I know a little bit.
So, like, that was your brand to you.
Yeah.
And now you're in a period of realignment, one of those 4 words.
And I resign. I do, and I leave. And it was crazy because I didn't even, nothing was wrong with the organization I was with, by the way. I mean, every organization has its issues, but like,
awesome.
That's not what I'm finding. But
Awesome place.
yeah, and for me, it was this like, I didn't realize how much my identity was wrapped up in it. And it's been powerful for me because who I am isn't necessarily based on my title and what I do. Now, to you it might be, and to those listening it might be, or those watching. But the truth is, and I hope everybody can hear this, is, and it kind of sounds cheesy and, you know, Tony Robbins-y, but like, we're all amazing. We're all incredible in our own right.
Sounds a little Tony Robbins-y.
It's the truth. and we don't realize that, and we don't believe that. I mean, I love it. Like Gary Vee says, like the chances of us being born as a human is like 1 in 4 billion. You know, it's like you're alive.
Yeah.
You won the lottery. You know, and we don't see it from that glass being half full, right? A lot of times we can see it for the reality that it can be.
Thank you
half empty.
for not directly quoting Gary Vee, since this is a G-rated podcast.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Gary can cuss, but he's an amazing dude. But anyhow, with that, coming into my own, you know, and I did some personal work locally here where I live. It's called Harmony, and it really was just a place of rapid transformation where you can get open, honest, kind of face your past, really look at who you are and how you've been showing up for the world. And when I took a look at that for me, it was a very rough look in the mirror, and I had some evaluating to do. And then there's a lot of, I got it, I'm going to be better, and then you mess up again. And then I figured it out, I know how to do good now, and then I mess up again, you know. And then there's a moment of realizing there is no good or bad.
Yeah.
There's just feedback, you know. And it's like, what's that mean? And digging into that. And it's really been powerful for me because I get to look at my life and everything in it becomes feedback. And I get to change the things that don't serve me, you know? And I get to embrace the things that do. And it's been hard, but it's been good.
You know, the interesting thing for me on my journey was, I like to believe for myself I didn't have a brand. But then you end up having to write some of your own press releases, you know, because of some of the things you do. And
Sure.
Of course, I run a couple of nonprofits. One of them, Student Reach, which is, you know, right here on the cup. These coffee cups say I'm going to change the world today, but first coffee. And our, you know, like unofficial sponsor, like they don't give us any money. Valiant Coffee,
Yeah,
but awesome. But you know, it's interesting because in my work, doing nonprofit work, we're out speaking in schools on tough subjects too, like human trafficking and suicide, and then taking people on trips to serve some of the poorest people in the world. And I mean, you know, thousands of people going on trips with us, talking to 50,000 students plus every year. We have coaching programs going into the toughest schools. We're doing all these things.
Yeah,
and so
it's a lot.
my brand was like, you know, a humanitarian hero, you know, and then even speaking at churches. And I spent so much time with people coming up to me saying, either whether it's at a trip, you know, that it's, you know, it's pretty nice when people put their trust in you and you feed them for a week, you know.
Yeah.
They paid for the food, but they, you know, to them, you're like, you took care of them. So people are like, you're the best, you're my hero, you're great, you know, and all of this all the time. You're great, you're a hero, you're doing all these things. I even won here locally. There's in the Sacramento area.
Yeah.
There's a radio station that does a weekly hometown hero of the week, and the guy from KFBK, if you live in this area, you know that radio station, came out and interviewed me as the hometown hero of the week. You know?
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So all this stuff, and then a time hit where, because of, and you know, just being honest, there was a massive situation in the lives of three of my friends that went way back to the 1980s, where three of them were sexually abused. And so when they brought that out really fully into the public in 2015, it affected the reputations of some people and some organizations, you know, and a couple of very large organizations, to the point where, and I wasn't directly involved in the situation, but I knew about it, had confronted the situation before, and because of that, I had people kind of pulling on me from both sides to embrace their version of the truth, which those weren't the truth.
Yeah.
And so when I came out and stood my ground and told the same story I'd been telling
For decades.
Yes, since the 1980s, when I first found out about the story and my friends being abused by a camp director, there was a lot of fallout.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I started to hear all kinds of lies and misconceptions about me, which I had told people for years, I don't give a crap what anybody thinks about me. You know, that's my freedom, right?
Yeah.
It turns out that was not true at all. I greatly valued my brand. Now, I have to say, I probably, the nature of my makeup is that I don't care as much as most people. But it turned out I cared some.
Yeah.
And it started to seriously affect not only me on a personal level, but what we do, and to see my reputation, to have relationships with other organizations, and people saying, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Or people just not taking my phone calls. And I have to admit, for every one of those, I had 30 people contact me out of the blue saying, I admire you, I'm behind you. But man, those hits and seeing the lies come out about me were tough. And I had a choice at that point of how disciplined I was going to be. Okay, because here was my choice, really. Choice was either defend myself publicly and set the record straight, or hold back and stay not silent in terms of the decision makers, but in terms of my personal reputation. I was standing my ground. We almost went to court, a bunch of things. And there were depositions and those kind of things, okay? I had my name in on court records, holding the ground on the truth of the situation, which was my friend's truth who were abused and not the organizations that were involved in the situation. But publicly,
Sure.
I had to decide, is my brand the guy who is going to go out there and risk the, methinks thou dost protest too much, and be the guy that says, no, none of this is true, and join the tabloid fray of what was going on? Or was I going to sit back and be disciplined and say, my reputation has to stand on its own. I'll answer questions when asked, but I'm not going to go out there and defend myself.
Yeah.
And really, honestly, I kind of had, I was, I'm a person of faith, so I was reading the Psalms, where David is saying, hey, he's looking to the sky, saying, hey, listen, if I stay silent, maybe God will defend me. And so that was part of it. But the other part was, I have to let my personal brand be one of security and dignity enough that I'm not going to jump into this fray.
Yeah, you told the truth every time asked, and that's the role you played. You even brought it to the forefront in the earliest and middle stages. So you just were saying, hey, this is what I've been saying since the beginning. Here's where I'm at with it. It's never changed. It's never wavered. So and people talk about you. That's tough.
It was really tough, and a lot of people sitting on the sidelines going, how's this going to play out? I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
It was
when you know your truth,
it
doesn't matter. I had a good friend of mine. I was at his place of business, and he's like, he called me. I was at his place of business, reconnected, kind of caught him up with what I was doing. A week later, he called me and he goes, hey man, I want to talk to you. I was on the phone with a high up and this, that, and the other. A high up person that had been going to this organization for a long time. Didn't work or was, but was affiliated with going there. And he's like, they said you got fired for an affair. And I realized at first my ego was like, and I thought about it. My ego was, like ready to rile up or something. And I go, the truth, I said, dude, I didn't get fired. I'm not saying maybe that what couldn't have been down the line, but that's not what happened. And then it wasn't for that. You know what I mean? So I go, that's it. And then there was other occasions where people brought up stuff that did happen. I heard this, and I just was like, you know what? I got two options here. What? Or I just would go, that's true.
Yeah.
I said that, or I did that. You know what I mean? I just owned what was true, or I denied what wasn't. But here's the funny thing. He goes, well, hey, and it was like a movie. He was like, hey, well, you want to know who said it? The truth is yes.
Yeah.
If I'm being real with you, when I can get into my deep walls, I want to know who did it. I want to show up their doorstep, and be like old school, And I just said to him, gosh, I don't know where the strength came from. I just said, you know what? No, it's probably better I don't.
Yeah.
And I said, and if I hear
there's nothing there for you.
I said, if I hear it 5 more times, I might want to see if it's the same person saying the same thing that's not true, and I might have to go just be cool about it, like, hey man, this isn't true. You gotta stop doing this, or we're gonna have a real problem. Like, this is not okay. It's just slander. I didn't hear it again.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I'd hear some other rumors. I didn't. I mean, and when I embrace the truths, you don't hear those again because I embraced them.
I was in the middle of this thing that I had a good friend call me. I've known for a really long time, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I just got a call," and he explained to me a string of lies that were difficult to hear, and it was new lies. This is one of the things you find out that when somebody
about you,
about me,
sometimes I used to want to hear it.
and I just, I said to him at the end, and he said to me, it was really interesting. He said, I had this 30-minute conversation where I said almost nothing. It was just this stream of things. He goes, and all I could think to myself is that this doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like the person I know. And I thought in that moment, okay, so I have built enough of a personal brand of being a truth teller, sometimes to the point of a fault, right?
Sure,
sometimes I say more than I should.
Yeah.
To the point where this person was saying, Jeff might be a lot of things, but a liar is not one of them that I've known. He might say
he may be a hall
truth.
monitor, but you were skipping class.
Right. And so it was interesting, and I said to him, after he said that, I just said, hey friend, do you want me to answer all of this? I said, because here's where we could leave this. I didn't call you, okay? The person who called you and I both know you. and our reputations are both important to you. I said, but I'm not the one who reached out and put all of this out there. I'm comfortable leaning back on my reputation as a truth teller and leaving it there. I said, and that means something, right? That this is where I'm at. And he said, yeah, I think that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is the importance of building a personal brand that matters.
Yeah.
And when you do, you're going to take some hits. You cannot please everybody.
No.
And it was easy. It's so easy to focus on the 2 or 3% of people that were just giving me a thrashing. And another, 20 or 30% that were just sitting back to see where the chips were going to fall, because it was complex, right? It was really difficult. Instead of the people who were, the majority of people, even in a complicated situation, who were saying, no, I trust you.
Yeah.
And those people stood by my side. And so, that's kind of the power of having a personal brand that means something and standing for something along the way. And believe me, I'm a huge screw up in so many ways.
Yeah.
But in one area of my life, I have been a truth teller, and that happened for me. And it just made me think about all the other areas of my life. What do I want to be known to my kids? What do I want my brand to be? I know that's a funny way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
To my wife, what do I want my brand to be? What am I going to be known for to her when I'm not there? And I don't mean just, she'd defend me, she'd probably fist fight somebody, that went after me. But I mean to her, what's my brand? Well,
And I think that's a good thing to jump into real quick, Jeff, because I think for everyone that's different,
Yeah.
And I think we all know the version. This is how I'll say it. I think we all know the version of ourself that we're not happy about or we're not proud of.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say names, so I can share the story. I have a friend who I've been doing some life, work with, who had, basically one of his not so great moments recorded on camera. A moment of anger, a moment of yelling, a moment of throwing things, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I can hear about that and go, anger, I've been there in one shape or another, in one way or another. Everybody's personality is different. Right. Just because Joe throws the cup and, Sally sets it down and goes into silent treatment doesn't make one worse than the other.
Say any names.
Those are fake names.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I just want to
Thank you for clarifying. Because those were literally fake names.
I thought Sally was maybe.
No. Robin looks like a Sally I used to know. But anyway, Robin is here with us in the room, everybody, and she's filming. So if you don't know who that is. But the bottom line is that we all go to a place. I'm kind of losing my. You made me laugh there, so I got a little.
Sorry. This is
Robin, Sally,
Robbie
and Joe.
brand.
Oh no, here it is. No, I'm so sorry. Because when I get passionate, interruption, because I'll get into it. But here's what it is. Just because one throws something, or someone sets it down and goes into silent treatment, doesn't make the throwing, breaking worse. But culturally, we might think so. But really, what's going on is everybody has their version of that person.
Yeah.
And it's hard because then you go, "What's my personal brand?"
Yeah.
Well, what's more memorable? The preaching in front of to like 12,000 people.
Yeah.
Or when you go, "I'm so sick of your junk. Just go to your room. I don't even want to look at you."
Yeah.
And that came out of your mouth. And now I'm being PG-13 for our podcast, Jeff. But I've said worse things. I've thought worse things, and I've had friends that have done worse.
I think that's actually G.
Yeah, it might have been. But you're right. But my point is, and I'm only saying this because we're going to jump into this interview very soon here, is your personal brand matters.
Yeah.
And I think there's two parts to it. One, owning the fact that we all have parts of our personal brand that we don't love or we don't want anybody else to know about. That when Michael Jackson said, "I'm talking about the man in the mirror," no one wants to talk about that guy.
Yeah.
Because he's usually the worst part of the problem. But when you really face it and then you say, okay, then I want to be known as a man who was constantly fighting to eradicate that part of him.
Right. Yep.
and wasn't afraid to say, I'm sorry. And wasn't afraid to do the work or go through whatever it takes to become the better, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta go to anger management, you go to anger management. You gotta, you know, you cross the line, you're gonna do time in jail. I mean, there's just all these things that the law and the laws of the land and the world and the universe will put on you. But at the end of the day, they go, man, my dad fought.
Yeah.
He had a hard background, but that man fought. Yeah, he did this, yeah, he did that. But man, he loved, he showed up, he stayed, you know, those types
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
And then, is that kind of, you know, what you're saying?
Yeah.
What are your kids
Yeah.
going to think about you? And I just want to put this part out there because I think if you're listening, you might struggle with that. There is a version of you, you know, I had a mutual friend who's a speaker, a leader. He wrote a book called Heroes and Monsters.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're both inside me.
Right.
I never forget, I didn't even have to hear him talk. I read the title and I went, I know that. That's the
Right.
Incredible Hulk. I know him well. We all have a little Incredible Hulk, or whatever that narrative is for us, whatever that archetypal psychology is for us. We live in it, and cultures put it there through our trauma. That's a lot for you to take, so you might want to have to
Yeah.
go back on that. But with that being said, your personal brand matters. We're going to dive into it in a minute and talk about how marketing for you, your company, your business, it's even important for you as a person.
Yeah. So introduce our guest.
Yeah, so we're just going to dive in. He does a great job of talking about what he does. He's been a longtime friend. He's a genius, in my opinion. Always on the cutting edge, always one of my most favorite thinkers. So let's dive into our interview with CJ Alvarado. Because I want to talk about the thing you texted me about, and then he
Yeah, I
brought
mean,
up too.
his personal brand can fit with what I was hitting
Yeah.
you with. I mean, brand's really dealing with perception. So it's
Looks good. Okay.
make it a whole word. What were you wondering though? How
I was thinking how we get into everything you know is wrong. I'm just always jacked up on the verbiage to start, and then once that we flow. But how do you want to start this thing? I'm trying to think. Get him. What's the first question we want to?
Well, so we want to start out by, you know, what do you do? Because we want to establish expertise, and then go from there. But you know, I think that for me, you know, I'd be thinking first kind of question from me would be, you know, there's a lot of people out there. You know, nowadays there's to me the three questions would be. You know, everybody in the modern world is marketing, you know, whether they're a leader in a business, they own their own business, they're wanting to start a business. So I'd say, what are people doing wrong? And then my second question would be about cutting through the noise instead of adding to the noise.
Yeah.
And then my third thing would be, you know, about the personal branding part.
Okay. How much time do we have?
So maybe 40 minutes.
30, 40 we're thinking. Is that good for you?
It's fine. Cool. What do you guys think?
We had that little timer.
Oh yeah.
That was helpful. Where is that? It's right here.
Are these already recording?
They're going, yeah.
Okay.
Ready? Where are we going? So. Perfect. Hey, okay, so we are here and we are excited. My man, CJ Alvarado. Dude, let's jump into this. We got a couple of questions for you tackling this, but would you just tell us a little bit just about who you are, what you do, how you do it, you know, in the quick
Yeah,
form,
the quick-
obviously.
the quick version.
Yeah.
So I run a company called Bamboo Creative. We're a brand strategy and digital agency. We say we're here to help businesses and organizations take new ground. How we got into it? Yeah, how we got into it is for some reason or another, I've been able to live through a few like technological disruptions. First one was music industry. Going from CDs to streaming. I was with Avid, a company called DigiDesign at the time. We were making the big transition from big analog studios to digital. Everything was in the box. So I lived through that. Then again, in another time in my life, publishing, and then doing some stuff in the nonprofit side. So for some reason, my entire career has been marketing through disruptions. So Bamboo has really been about helping organizations do the digital transformation thing. You can't just digitize anymore. You have to find a way to literally do your business differently in the digital domain to reach people and make, you know, impact happen. So we basically, you know, dedicate our entire agency to that kind of work.
By the way, if you're listening to this by podcast, you're not watching it. Yes, CJ is as good looking as he sounds. So just thought I'd clear that up. I know a lot of you are wondering. Of course, if you're a man listening to this, then it's understandable that you're wondering. But yes, he's as good looking.
No, it's good. It's good. If you're listening, you're probably going, man, I need that. My organization needs that. So good opportunity for them to jump on and connect with you. But keep going. That's good.
Yeah, it's just an interesting time right now, especially, right? Like COVID has disrupted, usually the disruptions are technological, right? You got we went from CDs to streaming, right? Like when I was working in the music industry, the technology space, it was technological disruption. Now it's health. Like COVID disrupted restaurants and a lot of other places, right? So you really do have to think about how do you reach people now in a digital domain when they can't gather. And so I think some things will go back to normal, but I think a lot of things, COVID just really accelerated that change and that growth.
Yeah, that's the word, right?
And specifically, CJ, you and I worked together at a large mega church for a season in time, right? And I worked with you, for you, and on your team.
Yes.
And I think
we had some good times.
We did. But I thought it was interesting, and I thought this a lot over the course of time. But before COVID, we were pushing a lot of these. When I say we, I mean you. But and you were helping me along too to see the vision. We're pushing these ideas forward, and then boom, and I remember even pushback in some ways, no, and then all of a sudden, and I wasn't with the organization at the time, but it was boom, everything we'd ever dreamed of times 50.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's pretty amazing, and I think that's incredible, and we're seeing that even still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about disruption because, I was thinking about it. I was having a discussion with somebody not too long ago. It's if you lived anywhere between the year 600 BC and 1600, for 2,000 years, your life's not that different.
Right.
Yeah.
More people can, but you're still riding a horse, right? Yeah. You're still doing, and then we had this slow technological innovation, which must have seemed massive for a few hundred years. The Industrial Revolution obviously is huge, but after the Industrial Revolution, besides space age, computers didn't really start to affect the daily lives of people in a serious way until, maybe really 20 years ago. And then it seems like overnight between cell phones, smartphones, you talked about disruption in several industries.
Yeah.
If you're a book publisher, you've been doing the same thing. Simon and Schuster for, I don't know how old the company is, but maybe a couple hundred years, right? Gutenberg.
It went from it's sci-fi to wait, go back to those sci-fis. We can do that now.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And from Gutenberg to Amazon, things were not that different. And all of a sudden, everything's crazy. So how do people manage that kind of disruption if they, as a leader, not, whether it's marketing or just, family life? You've been in some industries that have seriously disrupted the industry around them, but also that means disruption in your own life.
Oh yeah, disruption's inevitable, and working in industries where you've seen it firsthand, you learn a lot, and you learn to just kind of accept that it's a part of any business that's going to stay in business for a long period of time. You may experience it a couple times, at least, in the existence of your business. But what I would say is that, leaders and people in general, whether you're running a personal business, or a big business, you can't be stubborn on your strategy.
Right.
Be stubborn on your vision, but be very open and flexible around your strategy. Right? So I tell leaders, be really stubborn on what you're trying to achieve. But in a time like this, the way you go about doing it, you can't be as stubborn about it. Right? And so if you go to Facebook right now, Facebook has a book. It's their employee manual. They have it in one of their HQs in a case. And if you read it, the first page says, invent the thing that kills Facebook.
Right.
Facebook has in their culture tried to create a mindset that's no, we are going to kill our cash cow, right? We have to invent the thing that is going to kill Facebook.
That's how you say innovative.
Right? And that's how you say innovative.
Yeah, wow.
And in a world like that, you have to do that, right? That makes sense.
That's like Apple, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like we want
kind of inspiring.
to invent the gadget that puts our gadget out of
Exactly.
business. You know,
Yeah.
Well, and
which
that's
is huge.
if you really are innovative and you embrace that, what you find are people as well as companies end up killing their cash cows. So Apple killed the iPod when it made the iPhone, but it knew the iPhone was going to be exponentially bigger, and it was, right?
Right,
So
right.
it takes a lot of guts. to
And
do
you
that.
could have gone the opposite, been stubborn, and say, no, we can't do that because then it would take away from this.
There's so many. I mean, there's so many examples of that, right? Like right now on Netflix, there's the documentary on Blockbuster.
I was thinking that when you were
right?
saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The last
So-
Blockbuster.
Yeah, the last Blockbuster, right? Kodak, there's a famous story about it. Mike Sisson, I think his name's, no, Steve Sisson, one of the lead engineers, comes over, he sets a TV down in front of his senior leaders, and he has this contraption, he takes a picture of the room, shows the room on the TV in black and white, and he's like, I call this invention filmless photography. The whole room was quiet. And then they told Steve, this is 25 years before the first digital camera was ever invented. He made it. This is Kodak. They made it.
Noah.
They tell him, hey, don't ever talk about this again. And they snuff the idea. 25 years before anybody else had
And
it.
someone else did it.
Yeah, Kodak had the technology and someone else did it. Now, here's the thing though. Companies just like people have antibodies. Antibodies fight foreign objects that come into our body. Companies have antibodies that fight new ideas. So we have to be very mindful that you may have a new idea come in that's going to make you the next 10x return, but your company may fight it because it doesn't want new.
Here's what you're going to want to do right now. You're going to hit pause. And rewind that,
Yeah.
I don't know, 4.5 seconds.
Okay.
4 or 5.
right.
And then hit play again, and we'll see you in a minute. Okay, you're back? Okay, good, you're back. Okay, let's keep going. That was good. Dang, bro.
So, CJ, besides dropping words of wisdom, you're a marketing expert.
Yeah.
You have helped people because nobody can keep up, right? These days, you either have to become a marketing expert, which is really tough, or you have to hire somebody like you. I think probably there's a lot of people listening that are trying to market something, right? And so. For people who maybe they have a side hustle or they're a business leader or maybe in their particular role in their career they're trying to market something for whatever reason, what are people getting wrong about marketing? What is the thing that everybody knows that isn't true, that is wrong?
Yeah, I think what people underestimate is first and foremost how much noise there is. You know, they interact with it all the time, but we have become professionals at ignoring stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're marketing digital, on the plus side is that it's so easy to reach millions of people from a device. The hard part is all those people are getting marketed to all the time, and they just are professionals at ignoring. So I think first and foremost, what they're doing wrong oftentimes is really not accounting for that environment. You really do have to have a great story to tell, because story is really what helps kind of break that fixation. So people think if I have a good product or I have a good service and I put it out there, it's kind of the field of dreams idea. If I build it, they will come.
Sure.
Yeah.
They won't come. Like, there's a good chance they won't
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, you really have to think about the problem you're trying to solve. And I always say, don't create vitamins, create painkillers. A lot of people have products or services, they're vitamins. They're good, you should take them, there's value, but they stay on the shelf. A painkiller, man, you are going to grab it. The consumer, the person you're trying to serve is going to do whatever they need to do to get it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that yet, keep working on it. Keep working on the product or the service or the idea until you kind of find what consumers are willing to move heaven and earth to get to.
I personally get the vitamins off the shelf.
I love the vitamins.
And then I
myself.
don't take the painkillers, but I do know what you're saying, and I do resonate with it deeply.
But even vitamins, right? Good marketers that are marketing vitamins,
Right.
they are marketing those on pain points.
Absolutely.
Or else they're not selling vitamins.
Well,
Yeah,
there's,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, that's
look,
funny.
this is a
I guess
perfect
that'd be true,
example,
yeah.
right? This is a perfect example. Growing up, you'd have like the Nature's, whatever that classic.
Nature's Best or something.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
classic vitamin. It was just big E or a C on it.
Yeah.
Now you're getting the vitamins that are saying something like memory booster.
Yeah.
Well, that's serving a specific need, right?
You're
You
like-
come in and it's like, it's a energy something.
I'm so tired. I
Yeah, right.
can't remember anything.
So like, you know,
I don't need more energy.
yeah, right. Like Joe,
yeah,
Joe
yeah.
Rogan's the whole like alpha brain or
Yeah,
something.
he's all
like,
over it.
Yeah, so like these guys are trying to position something, and it's all branding and marketing. They're positioning something in a way that solves a really deep pain point and need, right? So you're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
You know,
I'm literally learning something. Like I'm literally thinking about a ton of things as we're talking. Like I'm
Right.
like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay.
you know, we run a nonprofit here, and so we take people on trips around the world, more than 9,000 people, and we spoken to more than 1 million students in schools, and we have this coaching program that we do. And the thing that I'm always thinking to myself, since I've taken on the role of marketing in this organization, is we don't want to be the best kept secret in what we do,
Yeah.
right? Like if we're really helping people, which is, you know, and everything we do, none of it affects my salary or, you know, anything,
Sure.
right? So I just am really somehow mostly coming from a place of altruism, because the more successful we are, the more it adds to my plate. But I always am saying to myself, okay, listen, forget ego, forget all these things. I don't want to be the best kept secret in helping people in this particular area. And, you know, that really becomes kind of the motivation. And yet, you know, how do people cut through that noise?
Yeah. It's difficult, you know, and I don't want to pretend like there's silver bullets in
Right,
this thing. And I think a lot of people promise that because there's a lot of different types of technology, a lot of different things you can do. But I think it's a lot of hard work in trying to engage that community. To me, most businesses start with like an agenda. Then they think about the channels they want to communicate that agenda, and then they think about their audience and engaging them. I say flip it. You start with your audience. That has to be at the very top. Then what channels can you reach that audience? Then what is your agenda, right? Like I'm telling you, from churches to businesses, at the end of the day, intellectually, they may understand what I'm saying, but practically it's always, what do we want to say?
Yeah.
What when you say what do we want to say, that implies a one-way conversation. When you say what do we want to facilitate in the life of our audience,
Yeah.
that puts your audience first, and that implies a two-way dialogue there. Does that make sense? So I tell people like flip that pyramid.
Yeah. You know, I do a lot of consulting and training with other nonprofits because we've had some success, and so people that are just starting out, I love to help those people. And I say to them, and I'm interested in hearing if you think I'm on the right track here. I think I'm saying the same thing that you're saying. I'm telling them, I said, the problem is we're always thinking in third person with some mythological third person out there. And I say, think to yourself, whether it's a post on Instagram, whether it's a project for somebody to give to, or a service that you're offering, think to yourself, would I click it? Would I buy it? Would I give to it? Because if you wouldn't, then who would? There's some dunce out there, you know what I'm saying? You know, you're doing some fundraising project. Would you give to it?
Right.
If you came in knowing as much information as you're giving them in this situation, is it compelling? Is it the kind of thing that somebody else is going to give to? If it's sharing a post, would you share it? You know, like that to me becomes the essential question, because
Interesting.
if I would click it, I would share it, I would give to it, then there's other people like me. But if I wouldn't, I can't guarantee there's other people out there
That's right.
who aren't like me that exist. I don't understand how that works. Oh, what do you think about that?
No, I think that's right on. Donald Miller, you know, he kind of frames it as, you know, you're not the hero in the story, you're the guide.
Right.
You're not Luke Skywalker, you're Yoda.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're doing an Instagram post that focuses you or your product as the hero, why would your customer care?
Yeah.
Right? They care about their story. They're trying to beat the Darth Vader in their life, whoever that Darth Vader is. They're trying to scale the next mountain. Where personal brands or big companies or churches or nonprofits win is when they can come alongside as the guide and go like, I want to help you get to where you're trying to go, right?
Yeah.
I want to help you. And the more that you tap into their pain and their problem, the more they were inclined to listen to you, because they go, this guy understands my pain. This gal understands my pain, right? And so that takes a lot of time. It's very, very difficult for very strategic and smart people to step away from their agenda. We got to sell this, man. We got to meet quotas. It's really hard to do that. So I say that humbly because I've been in that situation, right? It's really difficult to do that, but if it seems counterintuitive, but if you can focus on the problems that your folks are trying to solve and align your service or business that way, it's a very different experience.
I am pumped I get to listen to this over again. Because I'm just getting dialed right now.
Yeah.
Jeff, you said before, I'm going to butcher it, so you're going to have to save it. But you said something to the tune that it fits here, I think, perfectly, but you were like, we have to give our people something to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Will you go on that?
Yeah, so, I talk about this, CJ. I said we have to leave space, right? So again, I'm in the nonprofit space. So what happens is a lot of
We have to
people
leave space.
like me, they come in and they say, look at the problem we solved, congratulate us, and support us.
Mm-hmm.
And the average person looks at that and says, okay, you solved a problem. End of story, right? So where's the ellipsis? Where's the
that's
space? And so I was just talking to a guy last week who's down with us working on a project in Baja, Mexico we're working on. He's been a pretty major business leader for a huge Fortune 50 corporation in the United States, and he quit and he's kind of going out on his own. He was kind of talking to me and he kind of said, I'm not sure I get you. He goes, I can't tell, he said, I've come down here to work my rear end off for a week for you, and I feel like I'm leaving owing you money somehow. he goes,
Make checks payable too.
yeah. He goes, I can't tell if you're, some sort of
My Bitcoin handle is.
yeah, exactly. He goes, I can't tell if you're some sort of the world's greatest salesman or if this is all legit, And I was kind of talking to him and he said, tell me what you're doing. How do you do this messaging thing? And I just said, well, we got to leave space. I said, we're raising a bunch of money right now. Our team, we looked at a couple, maybe 6 weeks ago, and we had to raise to finish this project, just the beginning point, $78,000 in 90 days. Extra money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not, we already have to do it. We already have to raise money. And so I said, I was kind of telling him, hey, we're getting close. I think we're going to make the mark. And he said, oh, that's great. And I said, yeah, but we've got another 35 to go to get to the full completion. That's just, put the fire out. And then he looked at me and he goes, I see what you did there. And I said, what? He said, you set this up like, hey, listen, this is successful. We're going to be successful. We're going to get this done. He goes, and then you left space for me to start. So, and he goes, I just want to let you know, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's where it's going. But what do you think about that idea of if we don't leave a problem unsolved, then what?
I think that's really astute, man. And I think being able to allow people to come along some type of journey is powerful. It's powerful. And as brands, companies and brands in particular are trying to move more toward community-centric, human-centric, more blended, more human, less big company. And that's part of that, is to try to create, some type of empowerment or engagement with a broader community to try to get some things done together. Because that's when people really buy in and get really excited,
Now, I mean, this must play out. There must be a lot of companies that think, okay, we're hiring the samurais to come in and fend off the barbarians for us. But really, like a company like yours, what you do, correct me if I'm wrong, is you come in and partner with somebody. You have to help them be better. You cannot, by the nature of how almost everything works, you can't do everything for them.
No.
So, there's a misconception right there. Okay, we'll hire Bamboo. They'll come in, they'll solve all our problems. And what you're really doing is, partly, right, you do that, and you do some of the heavy lifting, but if they're not partnering with you, there's not much you can do, right?
Yeah. It's like a financial advisor. Some people can invest their own money,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very successful at it. They don't need anybody. Some people are really smart, have a lot going, but could use a financial advisor to go, hey, this is my expertise. Let me show you how I can take what you've done well
Yeah.
and help you make it better.
Yeah.
You do that with companies.
We do. And no matter how good you are, culture eats strategy. So if your culture is such that it doesn't want to take on change, it doesn't want to look at new ideas, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is. It doesn't matter how good your experts are. You know, like there's an idea called chasing the expert where like people can just keep bringing in expert after expert after expert and nothing ever changes. I'm not sure it's always the expert, but maybe an indication of the culture.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it is the expert. Sometimes like, they don't always get it right, but
That self-awareness to be able to see it,
oftentimes, yeah.
especially as a unit, as a company,
Yeah.
it'd be even harder.
Hey, let's talk about, kind of a buzz term right now out there is personal brand.
Yeah.
I think probably anybody listening to this podcast has probably heard that somewhere,
Sure.
at least in a post that they're scrolling by for some company that'll help you build your personal brand. But talk to us about what are misconceptions about people's personal brand, and what does that whole thing even mean?
Yeah. Personal brand's becoming really important. One, we're moving into what's called like the creator economy, where people are looking at investing now in like Instagram folks, YouTube personalities, podcast people, instead of just companies. Right? Used to invest just in like, I'm going to invest in this startup. Now they're investing in individual people, which is really exciting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super neat. Joe Rogan, got the $150 million Spotify deal. Like that's crazy.
I don't even know how you live on that kind of money.
Yeah, he's just an individual, just one guy, right?
I'm pumped for him.
Yeah. So and he commands more attention than
does, dude. He's-
networks combined. So
sure.
personal branding,
Certainly more influential, right? Than you get
Millions
these
of
cable
downloads.
news shows who, like everyone talks about them constantly, but they get 2 or 3 million viewers. Joe Rogan gets 20 million.
Yeah, totally. So it's just an anomaly, right? And so personal branding has become, more and more important. What I always tell folks is like, especially on the personal level, your brand, it's in the room before you're in the room,
Right.
right? So the brand, the perception around your idea, your company, or your podcast, or whatever it is you're doing, it's working in the room for you, whether you know it or not. And so to be able to have that brand and the assumptions and the perceptions around it already formed, so anytime you're not in those rooms, it's helpful. It's helpful to have that working for you. And so if you think about it, just like, we've all worked for companies, right? Like the same thing is happening in a room when leaders are going, who should get the raise? Who should get the resources? You're not in the room usually when those meetings are happening.
No.
What's in the room?
I'm thinking of all the positive things, and
the
I'm thinking,
perception.
the
of it.
perception.
and I'm thinking of all the negative things. I'm thinking of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeesh.
Like, that's basically, it's no different in the marketplace. The marketplace is just a bigger room, right? Your customer doesn't always have Robbie in the room to defend the product, to pitch me. All it has is a brand. A brand is just the thoughts, the emotions, the things you feel and think when you think about something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really important. If you're a personal brand that's going like, I'm all about cooking, certain types of food, or I'm a certain type of leader or creative, you have to kind of be a little bit more intentional about how you put that out in the market today, because it's so noisy, right? It's just so noisy. I mean, every kid with a phone right now is vying for attention.
For sure.
Every kid on TikTok, everybody. So,
TikTok.
so it's never been more competitive ever in our life, right? So to me, dude, I'm going on and on now, but
Well, I got two
yeah.
things because I want to funnel this just because, or hone it, I'd say, because it's too big.
Yeah.
We'd be here another hour. Okay, let's just do the hypothetical situation. The hypothetical Jeff, the hypothetical Robbie. Hypothetical Jeff, what do you speak to him? He being the one who's doing well, looking to have a great brand, but doesn't know what to do to better his brand. And then after will be me, the hypothetical, was doing great, had a big burnout, fallout, and is like, how do you fix maybe a negative word or a negative, I'm messing it up, but a negative, where when you're not in the room, there's a few rooms out there where it's not good.
Yeah.
And you don't know it because you're not there. What can you then do? You obviously can't go individually and fix it all.
Yeah.
So what do you do from that point? So someone who's like, could you speak to those two quick? I think that would help. I think that's probably pretty much where someone's at.
Yeah.
I think they're in the one.
Yeah, there's four stages a brand typically can be: startup, turnaround, realignment, or sustained success.
Oh,
right?
I'm taking
Wait,
notes.
say that again.
Yeah.
Startup.
People want to write this
Your
down.
startup You're literally just starting something. Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
You're a turnaround. You had a good start, but something happened. Something maybe
Sure.
negative.
This is Domino's a few years ago.
Domino's,
Our pizza sucked.
yes.
We all admit it, and now we
Yeah.
gotta try this again.
If you
Well,
look
it's funny.
at,
I was just gonna say, can you do two at the same time?
oh yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. You could
okay.
be in a turnaround and a realignment. You know, you could be dealing with some of that.
I gotta tell you, I'm not supposed to be on this podcast. I'm actually supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in the car listening.
You could be in a sustaining success. So maybe you're going, hey, we're doing great. Now just don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Although it feels like anybody right now,
Oh,
unless you're in a few industries, everybody is in startup or realignment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
We have an ex-president who's right now in a turnaround.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Trump organization, I mean,
45.
like politics aside, I'm just saying
Totally.
from a pure brand marketing standpoint, they're now branding the 45th.
That's what I just said. I said 45.
Yeah.
Did you hear me whisper
Yeah.
that? And I
Yeah.
was like,
So
I see
everything's
it.
shifting
I
back.
see
And
it.
this fulfills FCC regulations. It's actually illegal to do a podcast without mentioning Trump.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if you're doing a turnaround, first and foremost, it's actually pretty normal the longer you've been kind of in the game. And the beauty is the attention span of the market is it's very short.
Right.
So
People don't think about you
keep
as much
working,
as you think.
you keep working, keep going. Exactly. You'll turn it around.
Something
quick.
great comes out, and they're like, oh, I remember I love that guy.
Yeah, but you have to be authentic.
No,
That's
for
what's
sure,
key
for
about
sure.
all of this,
That
being
is
authentic,
that
right?
is. We talked about that.
Yeah, so it's bound to happen. A company loses its way. A person, says something that offends somebody. It's just bound to happen in this day and age. So turnarounds are very common. If you're sustaining success, then it's really just a matter again of coming back to just your talking points, the things you're all about, and putting those values out there as much as you can.
This is good
I mean,
stuff,
we
dude.
could go on and on about this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but at a high level,
If you can't see me or know what I look like, I have long hair. It can be put into a man bun, so I'm definitely more into the emotional side of life. So all you little alpha dogs out there, I love you.
yeah, right.
But this is some nutritious stuff. I'm serious. This is some healthy, nutritious stuff. I'm definitely soaking it up, and I hope everybody else is too. You
So
guys.
how's that?
Man.
How does that play then into somebody's personal brand? Let me even crunch it down a little bit further. We can get back to Robbie's hypothetical. Maybe somebody's really screwed up as a parent. Now they got two teenagers that they know they have not put the time in. They've had problems with anger, whatever. How do they rebrand themselves or realign their brand in that situation, like within a family? I don't know if maybe we're getting too micro now.
No,
but,
why not?
But you seem to have be
Feels like
somebody
the
that can
formula
talk
could
to this,
be
yeah.
transferable.
Well, I'm no parent expert, right? I've got a 13-year-old one. I'm still trying to
Anybody
figure
with
it out.
teenagers
Yeah.
as no longer brands themselves as a parenting expert.
Yeah.
No, I was like, I'm not there yet.
Only people with successful kids that they raised and they made it through, or
Yeah,
people
right.
with little
Infants,
kids
yeah.
and screeners. Because any parent with a teenager realizes I have no idea what the crap's going on right
Oh
now.
man, that is the truth.
I can't even pretend. All I would say, and this is probably more from just what I've seen in marketing these years. Marketing at the end of the day is really just a study in human behavior, right? Like what helps people take action. And human behavior is beliefs and behaviors. What people believe, if a kid believes it's safe to talk, they'll behave in a certain way by opening up and talking. So for me right now, and I'm just talking personally, man, I need my kid to understand, to believe dad's gonna be pretty open and he's not gonna react when he talks, so that her behavior is such. She keeps talking to me. That's really hard, man. She's 13 or she's changing. Sometimes I'm just like, oh God, I just want to react, right? So I can't really say much more beyond that, but I'll tell you that that's very similar to what we try to do in a more marketplace situation too, right? Affect the beliefs, help people think differently about it. Most of the time the behaviors follow suit.
Wow, that's really good. So Robbie was kind of asking about, somebody who feels like, for a lot of people, it's COVID, right? They were on top of the world, and the crazy thing about COVID is that if you, are a contractor all of a sudden you can't hire enough guys, you don't have enough work, right? If you were in the, if you own Zoom, you were a little known company, and now you're the titan of the universe, right? If you had the disadvantage of being American Airlines or owning a chain of successful restaurants, you're out of business. You are, like things are bad. I mean, of course, those big airlines, they can lose billions and billions of dollars, but
Crazy.
So there's a lot of people that, through no fault of their own, they're just in a place where, they're almost back to startup space, right? They're not even in realignment or trying to retrieve their brand. They're back to square one, starting out.
Yeah.
What's your advice for people that are in that, whether it's in their career or they're a small business owner or whatever, what's your best advice to them now? Is it just, like, get ready, this is gonna hurt?
Sure.
What would you say to those people?
This is such a good question because it can hurt. It can hurt to be in business 10 years, 15 years, and all of a sudden you're like, I gotta start from scratch.
Absolutely.
That's not easy. What I would say is, like, in business, we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves. Every 5 to 7 years, you kind of have to prepare for a reinvention of some sort. To your point earlier, things are accelerating so quickly.
Yeah.
That may be 3 years now. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. So
it's not that different. That's one advantage.
it's not, exactly.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that if you have the mindset that's not such a scarcity mindset, right? In business, if you have more of kind of an abundance mindset, like, hey, if I can just solve this problem right, if I can tune back into what I know about the market and what they need, this may be the best thing for you and your business.
Right.
It may hurt right now, but it may prune. Oftentimes we carry so much bloat over the years.
Yeah.
It's really hard to change. It's really hard to optimize. It's really hard to make an impact, which is the reason why we all got into the stuff we got into, is to make an impact. So sometimes these things are blessings in disguise because they prune a lot of stuff that really needed to go a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's
exactly
not
right.
always everybody's situation, right? But for a lot of restaurants that I work with, for example, a lot of those guys are like, man, we had been dragging our feet on delivery. We've been dragging our feet on taking technology, takeout. Exactly. We've been dragging our feet on like this and that. We knew this is where it was going. We just were dragging our feet. COVID, as much as it hurt, forced us. There are companies right now, Chick-fil-A is doing more in drive-through than they were doing when they were fully open. They're just their drive-through.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
I could tell by the 30 cars in line causing traffic jams.
yeah. McDonald's too. Like, I think I read a stat, like 40 billion, something crazy. Like,
They literally redid the drive-through at the one by my house and
Right.
made it a 2 for, you go up a 2.
Yeah, some are like 4 lanes,
I've
you know?
seen
It's
those,
like,
I've seen
and
those.
the inside of the restaurants are just like little, like,
And they're going to become self too.
yeah, so it's given way to a lot of new things. Guy Fieri is now renting Buca de Beppos. He's basically saying, I'm going to use your Buca de Beppos as kitchens. You're going to make my food.
Is it called those ghost kitchens?
Ghost
or something?
kitchens, yeah. These ghost kitchens is a product of innovation. Like, instead of building a restaurant, instead of going out and doing all this
So
stuff,
wait,
I'm
what's he
going to-
doing?
He's starting a restaurant. Let's just call it XYZ restaurant. Instead of building the restaurants, he's going, I'm just going to deliver it through food delivery systems, but I'm going to make the food out of existing restaurants.
Gosh,
So-
did he think of this or did someone bring it to him? That's genius.
I don't know, but we had this about a month ago. My daughter, who just turned 16, she says, "Hey, I want to buy food for lunch after church from a YouTuber." And I go,
Oh gosh.
"What the
Yeah.
hell?" And
Did
she
you hear about
says,
this?
No.
She says, "Yeah." And she goes, "I'm a fan of this guy, and he's a YouTuber. And there's some local restaurant that's shut down because of COVID, and they're making the world's best burgers. And so we had." I don't even know where it was made, right? I don't even know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Is it around here?
Oh yeah.
launched-
That's delivered to our house.
He launched 300.
Who is it?
I forget his name. He's a
I gotta
YouTuber.
look
We
this
gotta look this up. 300 burger joints in one day. He launched 300 of them. He's a YouTuber. He started as a YouTuber, developed a following, had a different model.
Is this keep going.
Yeah. So the point is really about innovation.
Mr. Something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it's gonna come to my head.
We need one of those guys who are like working on a laptop.
Where is it at? Robin!
Technically,
Robin!
Robin,
We
can
need one of
you
those, like, yeah.
Google that?
Mr.
Robin.
Universe, no, Mr. Incredible, no.
Mr. Universe.
Mr. something, Mr.
Anyway, so that's a point though. Like
Yeah.
this crisis and that innovation can sometimes give way to some new thinking that gives way to some new kind of impact. So it's very valuable.
Okay, so we're almost out of time here. Somebody is saying, "Hey, I need to up my personal brand." Give us one thing that they're probably doing wrong, and one thing that they can do that can start changes this week.
Man, one thing I probably do.
Ooh, I knew I'd stump him a little
got
bit
me.
at some point. He's too smart.
No,
So
you
I
got
finally
me.
got there.
You got me, man. You got me. You know,
Mr. Beast! Mr. Universe!
Again, if you're listening to this via audio, the look of pride on Robbie's face.
this is what I love
No,
about Robbie.
listen about me. Go ahead.
This is what.
I'm letting you finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
This is one thing I love. He's like a dog on a bone on some things. I love it. He won't give up. I love it, man.
You know,
I
the
love
world's most
Things that don't matter. by
the
way.
world's
No,
most
that's not true.
distractible
That's not
human being in some senses is Robbie Cook,
No.
and the world's most focused
That's right.
human being in other senses.
No, I'm
You
gonna be
just
real.
channel
I'm gonna be real.
it.
'Cause
That's what you
I saw the stuff on Mr. Beast and kind of watched what happened,
Yeah.
and he did a bunch of stuff. But I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to be when I get older, but it's something like that. I really do. I would love
this
to
is the
do
time
that.
to do it, man.
Yeah.
How much older do you?
I don't think it matters.
I mean, just a lot of people say when I grow up, you know, they're like maybe 15.
No, I don't think it matters. I think you start 70 if you really have the intention,
Yeah.
the fortitude, you know. But it's hard because you have to face. When we end on that, 'cause that's something I really want to hear you talk about. You know, you have to face yourself, and you have to face your fear, and you have to face your ego to even put yourself out there. Because it's hard to produce content and put it out.
Back real quick, the one thing, because I know people are waiting. You
Yeah.
know, they're ready to write this down
Yeah,
because it's been so good. The one thing they might be doing wrong, and
that's
the
true. My
one
bad.
thing
I
that
got
they can
fired
do to
up.
improve.
Your job as a brand is to create a customer. That's it. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's to create a customer. So,
Even if that customer is your 13-year-old teenage daughter who you want to talk to you more.
whoever that is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
And
see.
so at the end of the day, it's an exercise of stepping away from our own ideas. It's an exercise of, stepping away from our own knowledge and becoming more of a scientist. Like you can come into something and think you're more of a prophet, right? Like my idea, this is going to happen. In business and in this kind of work, you have to approach it more as a scientist. A scientist is going to be a little more detached from the results, right? And what I see a lot of guys do is they're building their sites, they're building their social media, they run their ads. This is going to be really great. They do it, the effects aren't there, and then they feel kind of discouraged. What I would say is that should happen 10 times.
Yeah, test it.
Just
test
do
it,
it,
hypothesis, hypothesis
and
theory,
learn
yeah.
and learn and learn, right? Until you get closer to what it is your customer or the person you're trying to serve really needs and really wants. If you're getting there, right, then that's the win. Right? At the end of the day, it's about that impact. So, I don't know if that's exactly what would help everyone, but I think not knowing everyone's situation, it's a good place to start.
That's that's awesome. Well, and before we came in, you asked why we are doing this podcast, and I gave you some reasons, but maybe I wasn't completely truthful. Apparently, some of it is so that we get free consulting from people that are.
It was good. No, that was real good. It was
No,
real good. I knew it would
honestly,
be.
because of the place I'm at in my life, I'm thinking about parenting teenagers all the time. I feel like a little bit today made me a little better parent. Certainly the marketing thing. Hey, tell us about how people can get in touch
Yeah, how
with
can we
you.
find you?
How do you have resources that you offer? At what level? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find me personally at CJ Alvarado, pretty much wherever, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace.
Yeah, we'll put it in the bio.
I'm still not on MySpace. My company is bamboocreative.com. That's where we do a lot of work. We've got 3 different things there where you do it yourself. We have technology that helps you kind of do some of the stuff we're talking about.
Awesome.
You do it on your own. We've got stuff where it's done with you, where we kind of come alongside and help your team. And then there's stuff where it's just done for you. We just take over everything for you and get it all done. So bamboocreative.com.
And those all have different levels of affordability, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good entry level if
Yeah.
you're ready to do the work. You got more time than money.
Exactly. I'm working on a number of just personal projects, working on a podcast myself called Notable, where we just focus on all the new and notable trends in tech and culture. So I'm
I like
working
it.
on that. Yeah. So
Is that launched or launching
yet.
soon?
Not
okay,
yet.
cool.
Yeah,
we'll
we're
be looking for that.
Three episodes that we're trying to get in the can and recorded. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
Be on the lookout for that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else, Robbie?
No, it was good. Great to have you. Thanks for being
Thank you
here.
guys for letting me be here. Man.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Got a lot out of it.
Good.
Yeah. If people got as much out of that as I did, then we'll be in good shape here.
Love it. Thank you guys for
Thanks so much, CJ Alvarado. Man, thanks for being with us. Awesome stuff today.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
All right, that was an interview with CJ Alvarado of bamboocreative.com if you want to go to his website.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, right?
It was so good. I mean, did I say anything? I don't. I mean, I did in the beginning, but in that interview, I was just soaking it up. Hey, in the beginning, we opened up, got kind of open with our own personal stories, kind of our journeys a little bit. Took that in. CJ really talked about how he helps companies, partner and go to the next level, which he's amazing. If that resonated with you at all and you're on the fence at all, going, hey, maybe I should get a hold of him, do it. But then also he dove into his knowledge of personal brand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I was listening so much. I'm like, man, it was really good. It's not just your company or your business, although it is, but it's your life. It's who you are. It's who you want to be known as or what you want to be known for. And I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And, since we're talking about marketing, I mean, let's talk about a couple of things really quickly.
Yeah.
Because we just have a few minutes here
Yeah.
as we're exiting. But you offer services to companies, right? As a spokesman, you do voiceover, you do on-camera work, right? So if somebody's out there and they need some help marketing and they need a face or a voice, tell people about what you do.
Yeah, so it's perfect to wrap up with where I kind of started in the beginning. When I did resign from where I was working and move on, I started my own company, Robbie Crick Entertainment. I got into MC and auctioneering. So think a gala for a local charity that you love, where they invite you to a beautiful dinner. They got nonprofit, it's a nonprofit. They got.
I actually hear the hey,
it's coming.
right now.
Is my cadence coming? Is my cadence coming? But there, I saw a guy do it. I thought that looks like fun. I think I could do it. I had the opportunity to do it. Tried it. People started calling saying, "Hey, you do it for me." And I said, "I love this. I can go work with nonprofits, be an entertainer, help them raise money. So it's both entertainment and finances, and I love it. And I get to do that. So I started that. And with that, if you have a nonprofit or you've heard or you know of one or you're on the board, that's really where you got to be. You got to either be the director or you're on the board. It's really how you can make the move. And if they're looking for a new auctioneer, a lot of people like to switch it up. I'd love to come in and help with that. And then I'm a homeschool dad. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm a homeschool dad. One of the things before I left, a part of everything, while burnout and facing myself was a big part of it, I also was seeing some things that were challenging to me. Like one, people's lives chasing their dreams when they have kids, and then they wake up, they got the money, they can go on the vacation, and the kids are getting married, or the kids are going to college, and it's like, where did that time go? I've seen it working in student ministry or with or directing with students. All the different facets. I've worked with college age or high schoolers, teenagers. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I looked at my own life and my own two kids, and I went, I'm missing it.
Yeah.
With my own kids.
Yeah.
And so in one aspect, I started my own company, but then I realized I gotta prioritize some things. And so I really started homeschooling my kids, and now I can go do events on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I can be present with my kids during the week. So yeah, if you have you need an MC or an auctioneer for any type of a golf tournament or a gala event or like a black white ball, something along those lines, please give me a shout. Yeah, you can go into the comments down below and see all the information for me.
And then studentreach.org.
Yep.
This
is something we're passionate about, you guys.
We are launching, Robbie and I are deeply involved with a coaching curriculum. It's primarily for teenagers, but we've taken more than 3,000 students through this coaching program in schools, which is a tough environment. So we're launching that for students at home, where we're going to do online coaching. So look that up. It's studentreach.org /ureach, you coach, okay? Yeah. And then we do trips
Yeah.
You can go to ureach.global. Global is instead of .com, ureach.global. Look up trips. We still have some space this summer in Baja, California for individuals and families.
Obviously, check travel restrictions in your state, country, but when we go to Baja, we go as Mexico, we go to Zambia, Nicaragua, and so go to the website, look at the trip dates, and get it on your calendar now. Start saving. We have fundraising opportunities. This is once in a lifetime opportunity. Jump in. We can do it.
Huge. We still have some of that as TBA, but
just check your local restrictions, because if we can go, we'll be going.
Yep. So, hey, check it out, studentreach.org.
Yeah.
And we are so glad that you're here today. Hope you enjoyed this interview.
If you're still here, way to
I
go.
did.
Way to go. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
You guys are awesome. We know you can be more awesome than you already are.
Everyone is awesome. Let's go.
Thanks for listening to Everything You Know Is Wrong. Don't forget to rate the show in your favorite podcast app and tell a friend. It really does help. Visit our sponsors, studentreach.org, ureach.global. Follow us on Instagram at everythingyouknowiswrong.show. Click the links. You can support us there too. And at patreon.com/everythingyouknowiswrong. You can be more awesome than you already are.